Hey everyone, Swatlorovik here. In this video I'm going to be looking at my Mod 17 version of the Wizard. First I need to say I don't have all the gear that I would like to have, and I would actually point out which gear I would prefer when we get to it. So let's start with the gear. The first thing I went for was the Protégé's Charmed Hat, which gives you 5% extra damage in the Undermountain. Next up, we went with the ebony stained robes. I dropped the hag's rags because the sniper perk only stacks up to 2 times, and we use it in 2 other places. Then I went for the Eye Stalker wraps, which gives me my first sniper perk and the 3% more damage. On my main weapons, I went with the burnished orb. However, I would recommend rather going with. Let me just get it quickly. I can get it to show. There we go. Rather go with the lion's head orb. It's much better. Right? So for the next part, my shoe. Oh wait, before we go there, let me just show you my artifact modifications. On my main hand, I went with enhanced ray of frost, and it's 10% extra damage. On my offhand, I went with critical severity, since we need extra critical severity in this build, and enhanced powers. More power is always good. Then on my boots, I went with enduring boots. That gives me 3% more damage if my stamina is over 75%, which means I don't use shift as much as I used to. On the set, I still use the Baphomet or Orca set, since it still seems to be best. On my rings, I currently use Leading Ring of the Teacher and Guiding Ring of the Spine. However, these two I would recommend you actually try and get a bigger version of them. Just show them for you quickly. So if I go to, oops, sorry, I can just click here. And I should be able to get Tower of the Mad Mage. Yes, here we go. Instead of the Ring of the Teacher, I would recommend you go with the Ring of the Sage, as it gives better stats. Then for the second ring, instead of using Guiding Ring of the Spy, I would recommend going with Guiding Ring of the Sharpshooter, which is again same statistics, just slightly better numbers that it's giving us. Okay. Then for my shirt, I went with the star-studded shirt of silver. And for my pants, I went with the pants of the keeper. As far as artifacts, mostly, enchantments, mostly I go with Radiant and in offensive and defensive. However, I use one Tenebrow enchantment in my offensive slot to give me a little bit extra damage. Right, so next let's go to our artifacts. On artifacts, I use the Envenomed Storyteller, the Staff of the Flowers, Orcus, and the Turbrian's Ring in my AoE build. In my single target build, which is your main build for boss fights, I switch out the Storyteller for the Soulside Crystal. Okay, let's go to our powers next. So for at wills, I use the Ray of Frost and the Storm Pillar. Ray of Frost is my main, but I use Storm Pillar in certain situations, like for example at the rocks in the second boss of Lair of the Mad Mage. Then encounters, I go in tab, I use Rave Enfeeblement. Then Q, Repel, E, Entangling Force, and R, Disintegrate. Right? Then we went to our dailies, which is Arcane Singularity, as well as Arcane Empowerment. Now, you will mostly use Arcane Empowerment as it allows you to basically spam your encounter powers. I do, however, use Arcane Singularity in certain situations where the mobs get too much and it needs to be controlled, like, for example, at the first boss of LOMM. Or you can also use the Ice Knife for single target damage. Then, for my class features, I use Arcane Presence as well as Storm Spell. On my feats, I use Spell Twisting, Snap Freeze, Chaos Magic, Striking Advantage, and a step above above Mastery. Okay, so that's our boss fight. We used Arcanist route for the boss fight, by the way. Then for our AoE, I use Stormitage, or however you spell it, pronounce it. Then at Worlds again, I use Ray of Frost with Chilling Cloud as my backup. Encounters, I use in Tab, the Fireball, Icy Terrain, Chill Strike, and Conduit of Ice. On my dailies, I mainly use Ice Knife and Furious Immolation. Now, Furious Immolation is very useful to bunch up groups and allow you to do loads of damage with Icy Terrain and Fireball. Then, as for your class features, I use Chilling Presence and Critical Conflagration. For my feats, I go with Relative Haste, Glowing Flames, Shatter Strike, Critical Burn, as well as Direct Flames. Okay, so next we go to our boons. First, let's go to the guild boons. Now, this is on preview, so I don't have all the boons and everything, but I'll show you. Anyway, I'll go with Power Boon, definitely. And with defense, instead of using the defensive boon, I would actually recommend going with the hit points boon, because you need to at least have 300 to 320 hit points to be able to do TOMM effectively. Then for utility, I would go for the Revive Sickness. For example, in TOMM, if you fall, then the amount of time before you can fall again is less, and the nerve of the and the damage taken is less, or is a shorter time period. Sorry. Then for my companions, right? For companions again, my main companion is still the Bullette pup, but you can also, as an alternative, use the what's it called, the Star of Simra. Right. The main advantage of your Bullette pup is it gives you power, combat advantage, and defense. Now, I use the Bullette because of the combat advantage. I need to get my combat advantage up, as you might notice here. It's not quite the maxed yet. It's very close, but it's not quite maxed yet. So I use the Bullette for that. But you can also use your, let me just summon it quickly, Star of Simra. Because it also gives you power, same amount of power, but it gives you crit avoidance and awareness. That's the other two that it gives. So if you need crit avoidance, it would be ideal, maybe more for a tank. Then let me just resummon the Bullette quickly. Then for my runestones, I use the empowered runestone to give me some power. I make sure that all my companion gear has offensive slots. For example, I use the grimoire to get my more combat advantage, and then the talisman more armor pen, which I might replace because my armor pen is too much. And then I went with the armor pen and crit from the pearl ring. Again, the pearl ring, you might want something a little bit stronger if you can get it to drop for you. Then, as far as my powers, I went with the potency. Now, offensive slots, I went with the mercenary discipline for the 4,000 power it gives me. the defensive slot, I use the Minstrel Discipline, which gives you power again. If you don't have that, even though they're very cheap, you can also go with the, where are they? I think I have them in my bag if I can see them in this chaos. The Iron Stones, which all gives you power, not as much. They give you slightly less power. I think they cap at 3,000 power or 2,000. But they give you, for example, the Allure gives you incoming healing, and might gives you deflection. So depending on what stats you need, you might want to use either of these as well. Then for my next offensive slot, I went with the Baby Deep Crow. This is essential for me as 8,000 power is a very large amount. Then Kenku for its 4,000 power and armor pen. Again, there is a few other companions that do give power, so you're welcome to use them instead. Then I went with the Crystalline Golem in my utility slots for its power. There is a few other companions that also give, I believe, one of the stones, yeah, the Stone of Allure at max gives you 2,000 power. So if you can't get the Crystalline, you might want to go for that one as well. But I prefer the Crystalline because it gives me hit points and we need that in some of the in-game dungeons. Right, so next, mounts. For my mount power, I use the Bat Swarm. Then for your utility here, you can use whichever stat you are missing. So, for example, I went with awareness and accuracy, but power would be a very, very good option. Let's see if there's anything else that I have here that would be nice. The snail, I know the snail gives you, okay, that's another 10,000 combat advantage if I'm way short and it's critical. The snail gives your daily power as well, faster daily power, which is also very nice. Okay, so let me just cancel that. Let's look at our stable. In my stable, I went with Gladiator Guile, Barbarian's Revelry, Artificer's Persuasion, Cavalry Warning, and Wanderer's Fortune. As far as my insignias itself, I mostly went for dominance wherever I could, so I could stack up with power, but I also tried to get a little bit more out of the other stats that I'm missing. Okay, so we can just look at my stats and I'll show you. My power is okay. When I use potions, I'll show you which potions I use. I can push this up to about 185,000. In combat, it goes over 200,000 power, which is nice. Then for armor pen, that's too much. That should be no more than 80k. Okay, let me just quickly open my Excel sheet so I can have my stats available. There we go. So, why is it not open? Sorry, just give me a second. There we go, it's opening now. So for armor pen, I need at least 80k. Right? That is what I'm currently, wait, let me just scroll a little bit here. Sorry, my Excel is not entirely showing my stats as I want to see it. There we go. My accuracy, my power as much as possible. My armor pen, I need 80k and no more for TOMM. For defense, 80k, so 70k on a DPS is not bad. My crit is on 80k, which it needs to be, which is perfect. My crit avoidance should be 85k, but since I'm not a tank, that's not the end of the world. Accuracy is very important. It's the second most important after you do your armor pen. So I would need this at 80k. I'm on 78, nearly 80k. That's not the end of the world. I can just get it that extra 1k. Then I'm there. Combat advantage. This is the one that I'm still short. It should be 130k, but I'm 126k. So the stats is nearly there. Right. Another thing that I will show you now is my crit severity is on 110, which is perfect. But this is because I am currently on my AoE build. As soon as I switch to Arcanist, what will happen is you'll see my crit severity takes a hit. Now, thanks to the 10% that I got, sorry, the 10% that I used here on artifact, not there, sorry. The 10% I got on my artifact modification here, it's only 94%, which is nice. And we can get the rest with potions. I'll show you which potions I use in a second. Let's do that now. in fact. Okay, so for my potions, I use, firstly, to get my crit severity up, I use the wild elixir. Right, so let's use that quickly. It will give me 10% extra crit. I use that because I'd rather take my little bit of power hit here than my power hit on my potions. So that immediately you'll notice will just scroll it down. We'll put my crit severity at 104, which is good or fine for what we need. Then for my food, I will use the power potion, which gives me an additional 3,600. 3,400 power. I use the watermelon sorbet, which gives me another 8,000 power. Right. I use the prime rib, which will give me another, what's that, 1,000 power. Okay, so if we scroll up now, you'll notice my power went up to 185,000 by just using the potions correctly. If you cannot afford the artifact modification yet, and you are still short on your crit severity, instead of using the power potion, you can use one of these. This is the superior flask of potency, which you can make in your professions. The same with the potion of power bank. You make that in alchemy rank 80. So you can make it for yourself. You don't have to go buy it. Right. So that would give me a small amount of power, but it gives you 7.5% crit severity, which is very useful. Then the other item you can also use to up your power is the Invocation of Blessing. Just get one running quickly. That's effective. You'll see I have it here, a ton of them. I can just get one to get active. Okay, let's just use it here. Sorry, it keeps wanting to equip. Okay, that's not the right one. There we go. See that little hammer there? That should also increase my power and defense. And as you notice, my power went up a little bit. Right. So that is basically my build that I use. If you have any questions or suggestions, please ask in the comments below. I need to mention as well that this there is some changes with the damage formulas coming up. If it would to change my build at all, I would make another updated video regarding that. If you have any questions, suggestions, please let me know in the comments below. And thank you everyone for watching. Happy gaming!